Tell me what it means. It's everything we see. Grass ain't always green. Money makes a fee. Tell me what you do with the time machine.
Now you're more fluent. The pick is in. The pick isn't in. The pick is almost in. Sports Fluent here, and I'm here with my old friend Jeremy. Jeremy, I want to start. How you doing? First of all, feeling good?
It's great. It's the most wonderful time of the year.
It depends on how the draft pick works out for me. But that being said, I want to go back in time first. So for people that don't know, Jeremy is a comedian. Why is he here talking about football? For those of you that have been watching and following, you see, how long ago was it that we first did something together? Because I think we were actually talking about comedy that time. I hope.
I think you're right. Yeah. And then we ended up doing something on the draft in
then I found out that you were a QB guru. But for sure, so Jeremy, just quickly, stand-up comic, you move back home, you become the mayor of your hometown.
Yes.
You write a book called You Can't Write City Hall.
You Can't Write City Hall. Yeah.
City Hall. And so, okay, give me because for people who've seen this already, give us the shorter version. Did I miss anything? How good was that?
I ran for office as a joke. I got elected.
Isn't that what Trump did?
Maybe. I don't know. I do halfway think it was a publicity stunt at first, and then he was like, "Wait a minute, I might actually win this thing." So
this time he's serious, and I'm sure, and he'll probably win again. I don't know if you don't know this. So Jeremy, for those that don't know, he's 6'7". I wish I had your height. Like, I'm only 6'3". When I say this, you don't know. I've actually entered this year because I've been watching a lot of, I'm an NBA guy. I know we're going to talk about football today, but I'm a basketball guy. I'm in this year's NBA draft.
Oh, okay.
I realized, I found out, I looked up the rules. I'm eligible. I still play a couple of times every week. I coach. And in this NBA where you can't touch anybody and all you do is shoot threes, that's perfect for me. It's perfect for me. So who knows? Maybe I'll get drafted. We'll do a draft party. I have a shot.
If nothing else, there could be a clerical error and the Bulls see Tony K and they're like, wait a minute, Tony Kukoc is still available.
We're taking up. There have been weirder things. I don't know if you know this. In the CFL, I'm going to give you 2 CFL stories. We're going to get into NFL draft, guys, I promise. But the Montreal Alouettes, a long time ago in the CFL, drafted a dead guy.
Oh, my gosh.
It might have been, you know what? Now that I think about it, it might have been the Ottawa Rough Riders. Not to be confused with the Saskatchewan Rough Riders. Yes, at one time the CFL had 2 teams with the same name.
Oh,
except one had a space. Saskatchewan Rough Riders, 1 word, and the Ottawa Rough Riders, 2 words. So very, very different. But yes, they drafted a dead guy. My other CFL story quickly is just right now today. There's a player in the CFL who he announced his retirement a couple of days ago, and then they suspended him because they found out he was gambling on CFL games. I don't know how the suspension is going to work because he's retired, but there you go. Last thing I want to do history-wise is tell people how we met. Because I think it was during COVID, right?
It was. Because, of course, as a comedian, I didn't have much going on. So I thought, well, if nothing else, I can do some podcast interviews and get the word out about my special on Amazon. And so I got on a platform called Matchmaker, which sounds like a dating app, but it matches podcast people together. People that want to be guests with people that don't.
Guests, yeah. It kind of says, hey, you go in and I'll give the back. You go in and put your profile as a host or a guest, and then they kind of say, hey, here's the people that you're interested in sports, they're interested in sports. Maybe you guys should be on each other's show or whatever, right?
Yes, yeah. And so a message pops up in your inbox that someone has reached out. So for me, something popped up on my email while I was away that said, matchmaker.com, Michelle would like to connect with you. Well, guess what? My wife saw it. And she's like, well, who is that? Who is Michelle? And why are you on a dating website?
So similar thing, as I call her here, Mrs. Fluent. A little worse though. So she saw a notification pop up, on the top of my phone when and it says, "Matchmaker, you have a message from Jeremy." And she said, "The fuck is that? Why are you?" So that was, I had to really show here's what Matchmaker was, and that's a terrible name. Like, maybe Pod Match, Guest Connect. Like, there's a million different names.
Yeah.
Used, but I'm glad it did, because we were able to do a great show. I was able to find out about kind of your comedy and the fact that you've been able. I don't know if you brought some of this. Do you have okay, let me first look into the camera and tell you guys. He picks the QBs and says these have been the ones, correct me if I'm wrong, that are going to pan out, and you've been bang on all of these ones over the last couple of years. So do you happen to have any?
So yeah, I started this in 2017, which the Bears were in a similar situation. They were near the top of the draft. Everyone knew they needed a quarterback. So that's when they had Mitch Trubisky, Patrick Mahomes, Deshaun Watson were all in the draft. And through the years, I kind of looked at quarterbacks as guys talked about them. And I was thinking to myself, boy, I think I might be good at, sort of analyzing these guys. So, but this year I'm really going to look into it. And ever since then, I've done it every year for the guys projected to go in the first round anyway. And I haven't really been off more than sort of a level. So if I say he's a superstar, at worst he's been like a mid-level starter. Or if I say he's a bust, maybe he's a bottom of the league starter. I've only twice have I missed
a first round quarterback to be a bottom, like a 28th quarterback in the league is probably not a good thing.
Yeah.
Maybe not us, but
and in 2017, so one of those misses, like just about every GM, I thought Patrick Mahomes was a bottom of the league starter. So that's the one I missed on. I had Trubisky labeled as a bust, which I suppose was accurate.
No way. What do you mean? He was the MVP.
The MVP.
The MVP.
Yeah.
The Nickelodeon. Yes, the Nickelodeon.
And I believe, I'm trying to recall, I'm looking at my notes. I think it looks like maybe twice ever I've done this. I have put top 5 in the league status. 3 times I've put top 5 in the league status on a quarterback. I have not missed on those. In 2017, I said Deshaun Watson was one. And I suppose he was there. Until character issues. 2018, looked at Baker Mayfield. I said bottom of the league starter.
We're not fans of Faker, Butter Mayfield. Okay. Yes, not on this show.
Yeah.
We did well last year.
You could have an argument about where he stands. I had Sam Darnold, mid-level starter. Josh Allen, I put a top 5 in the league grade. Josh Rosen, bust. And then Lamar Jackson, I said, this dude can run like crazy, but he can't throw the ball. So,
not crazy. It's funny. The Josh Rosen one, you're the second person, because I was doing a show, but just so you know, when I do 2 fingers, for whatever reason, I get balloons. And if I do like 2 fingers like this, I go like this, I sometimes get confetti. I have no idea why. It's just, and if I go like this, I get a thumbs up. Yeah.
If I do it.
No, I think it's just me. So I don't know. So if you see that stuff, just ignore it. It's the crit.
You've been hacked by the Russians.
I used to be able to get fireworks, but I don't know how to do that anymore because it was really cool. I could like go like this and get like fireworks. Now it's just like confetti. I think I get when I do this. But anyways,
that's wild.
So if I'm counting and I'm like the first pick and the second pick, and then when I want it to work, just so you know, it doesn't actually work. But when I don't want it to, and I'm just going like this, I'll get balloons. But anyways, yeah. I don't even know where I was going now because you threw. Oh, Josh Rosen. So I had a guy who's out of California who was the beat reporter for his university, and was like last person to show up in practice, first person to leave, lazy throughout practice, and they said bad and a bad attitude. They all knew what he was going to be. But people fall in love with height, with arm strength, with a million other things. And he was like, and he was calling it from pre-draft. He was just like, would be, because unless that work ethic magically changes, which it rarely does. So you that one you were one of two people who said he was going to be.
I was on it. Yeah.
You got it.
2019, there were only two guys: Kyler Murray, who I labeled a mid-level starter; Daniel Jones, I labeled a bust. 2020, I put Joe Burrow, top 5 in the league; Tua, mid-level starter; Justin Herbert, mid-level starter; and then Jordan Love, I had bust. So it took a few years, but he may prove me wrong on that one. We'll see.
He's still a question mark. I think the which one did you say?
Tua and Justin Herbert.
Oh, and Justin Herbert, you're going to get arguments for mid-level because look at this, what he can do, what he can. But I call him Justin Rivers because he's going to put up a bunch of numbers, but find a way to lose.
Yeah.
So it changes. And I got a crazy thing for you on draft night, but I'm going to wait. So that's where all this started. So there's the history of it. Let's go. Do you want to jump right into the first QB?
Sure. Since you're not making me tell you what happened the last couple of years.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Was that not the right? Did I miss it? I thought it was still 2019, 2020.
That 20 was the Burrow group. 21 was the group with Trevor Lawrence.
I just had a senior moment. I just completely forgot everything we were talking about. All right, 21.
I didn't know if you wanted to fast forward. I don't care.
Oh, no, not at all.
Trevor Lawrence, I was cautioning. So people think this guy's going to be a legend. I don't see that, but I do think he can be a top 10 quarterback. Zach Wilson, I had bust. Justin Fields, low-end starter. Mac Jones, mid-level starter. Trey Lance, mid-level starter. And Trey Lance, who knows? I feel like he never got a fair shake, but I mean, he's been passed around so much.
He never got an opportunity, I think. You're right, in San Francisco, but they were seeing something in practice that kept them from playing him, right? Like I always say when they said, oh, we're holding him back, we're going to wait, right then, that was the red flags for me. I said, if this guy was pro ready or even close to being pro ready, because they've thrown in some crazy guys on the field to play, and you're like, whoa, that person shouldn't be on the field, but they showed something in practice is always the answer, and that's why they got an opportunity. If he was that bad in practice that they wouldn't even give him a chance, I wasn't surprised. I actually won a bet with my co-host on Fluent and Chilltown Hoops because he's a huge 49ers fan, and I said, your guy's not even going to be there. This was prior to last season, and he's like, no, he's gonna be him and Brock Purdy, da. And then he gets traded, and he's like, damn. I said, yep. I'm allowed to bet. My name's not John T. Porter. Okay, so that was that. Did I miss
21?
21.
22. There really weren't a whole lot of guys. There's Kenny Pickett, who I labeled an okay starter. Then Malik Willis, who I listed as a borderline starter but needs a lot of time. And then Matt Corral, I put backup only. And I must have been correct because I couldn't even tell you what team that guy's on.
The Falcons. I don't know. I'm guessing.
But I would say I nailed all three of those.
I think you nailed all three of those. I'm going to look that up, though, while you tell me the next one.
And then we go to last year. And so, by the way, the 2022 group I just described, that's on record. We did that together, and I put it on TikTok, I believe, if I remember right.
Yes, we did it on a TikTok live. It is there if you go to Sports Fluent, and probably on yours too, if you go back through.
And then last year, had Bryce Young. I told you, so we weren't able to line up, but I did go on record.
Yes.
I told you. I remember my exact words. I can say with confidence he is not a superstar. And I compared him to Your favorite player, I said, he might be another Baker Mayfield.
Matt Corral was by the Panthers, by the way.
Panthers.
He's
Okay.
Panthers. I guess his last. Who knows where he is? But he was injured.
Then Anthony Richardson, who ended up on the Colts. I said he needs a lot of time to develop. I think he could be a low end number 1. Hendon Hooker, I said backup only. And then the jury's still out on these two. We'll see. This could be one I totally whiffed on, though. I said CJ Stroud bust.
Ooh.
So I got really caught up when they leaked the test scores. It wasn't the Wonderlic, the other test they take. I can't recall what it was, but apparently he did terrible at it. And my big concern was his ability to read defenses. And I was like, oh, that just kind of seals it for me. Then the other, Will Levis, I told you this guy is a stud. I think he's a top 10 QB in the league. And we'll see. We'll see. I think he's going to get a chance this year in Tennessee, and we'll go from there.
Definitely put some pieces around him in Tennessee. So as long as he stays out of the Mayo, we're going to be okay. Anthony Richardson, though, for the time he played last season, he was a fantasy stud. Whether that translate into kind of an NFL, obviously there was the injury. So you've been, like, I would say when you look at the analysts and the professionals, people don't realize people get paid a ton of money to do it. And when you go back, and you never hear, they never go back, by the way. But if you go back and look at their picks, they're wrong way more than they're right. So your record is significantly better than the guys that do this professionally. So let's dive into this year, because listen, and maybe that's why I was fast forwarding a little bit, is because I'm so scared and excited, because obviously my Chicago Bears have the first overall pick. Everyone's pretty confident on what and who they're going to take. But just so you know, have a very, very different opinion of this. But I want to let you tell me first, and then I'll tell you what my crazy thought is.
Okay. So are you wanting me to jump straight to Caleb Williams, or should I work at the lower rankings and come all the way up to Caleb?
Oh, yeah, that's even better. Let's do that. Yeah, let's start with the lower ones, because you said there's 6 here?
There's 6 guys. So I'm just going by sort of the consensus rankings of where these guys are going to fall. So generally speaking, the number 6th ranked guy by most accounts is Bo Nix out of Oregon.
Okay.
So here, little scouting breakdown. He can scramble if he has to. He's tough. He can take hits. He can throw on the move. Really good at reading defense pre-snap. He's good at working through his reads live in the play. Great internals at clock. Does a good job avoiding sacks. He's got power. He's got velocity. But he's often inaccurate, especially when he's blitzed.
And I have a note that that's due to he needs work on his footwork.
Okay.
Just little. I have one line on everybody.
That's one line. Okay. So at Oregon, sort of the consensus is it took him time to develop, but when he got comfortable, he got really good. So my thinking is, if he's given time, he can be all right. So I've got him with time, a low end starter comparable to like a Jimmy Garoppolo kind of player. So, but he can scramble and also take a hit.
70% of his. I said Jimmy G wins 70% of his games. That's not a bad thing.
Not bad. And he finds his way to some special ladies as well. So I mean, hey,
I haven't seen Bo Nix. Is he?
I don't know his dating situation, but I was going to say he's not afraid to
matchmaker and
put him on matchmaker. But so that's the Bo Nix synopsis. He's not afraid to scramble and take a hit. So I said Jimmy Garoppolo, but you could kind of see a comp playing to old Cam Newton also. So
old Cam Newton, okay, not good Cam Newton, old Cam Newton. In a fight at a kids camp. Got it.
That's him. Yeah,
I made a note. All right, so kind of low. When you say low level, maybe we should do that. So obviously, top 5 is pretty self-explanatory. Mid-level. When you say mid-level, that's what, like 10 to 20 range.
I would say that's your 10 to 20 range, and then
Low levels,
low end. Those
low
guys,
end, like, hey, they're hanging on. They're a bad team. He could be a backup, but he's starting for a bad team. He's Danny No Dimes, right?
Sure.
Starting for a bad team. Yeah. Okay.
sure.
I'm really low on Danny No Dimes, hence the No Dimes. Yeah.
So you're with me. I nailed that one then too.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I think when they had Saquon, that was the only that year that they had Saquon carrying that team, they were a quarterback away from making a really good run in the playoffs. And then what did they do? They paid him. But
They paid him.
I digress.
And if you've ever seen the numbers comparison between him and Trubisky, it's almost identical. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but
I'm not surprised.
yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. You ready?
That's Bo Nix.
That was Bo Nix. Next up, Michael Penix
Michael Penix.
out of Washington.
Washington, yes.
So he's mobile, still willing to make the pass on the run, so he is difficult to sack. His timing can be inconsistent. I noticed a lot of times it was not unusual for him to make receivers break stride. Under pressure, he can be ineffective, but what essentially is happening is he's not afraid to throw it away. So a lot of times he throws it away unnecessarily.
Mm-hmm.
So if he's pressured and forced out of the pocket, it's going to be unusual for him to make a big play on the run. It's more if you get him out of the pocket, it's probably going to be a throwaway or possibly a dumb turnover. You've probably heard with him a lot of injury concerns. I believe this is the first year he wasn't injured. Though he is good at reading pre-snap, resetting protection, he can throw bombs with little effort. A lot of stuff I read, there's a lot of comps to Tua.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that. I think if you're a team drafting Michael Penix, you're a team drafting your backup quarterback.
My one line on him is that sometimes he lacks anticipation and touch, which maybe is why he can throw the bomb so well, because it's those short intermediate passes where he'll struggle with. Okay.
Yep. So I've got him as
he's a backup.
He's a backup. Or if you say,
okay,
I feel like bust and backup are essentially the same term, because if they bust, there can still be a backup, I guess.
But no, well, let me ask you this, because the bust label for me is can be applied to anyone, because it's based on your it's based on your projections. It's based on what your expectations. So if he's a first round pick who ends up being a backup, you can call that a bust, because you don't waste, right? When you think about the money that is paid to first round picks, you don't put a first round pick, money and for a backup. That just doesn't make sense.
Right.
However, if he goes in the third, fourth round, well, okay, then that's what I'm expecting to get a backup in the third or fourth round. So therefore, he's as advertised as expected. Do you think he's getting drafted in the first or second round, which is where he should be getting starters?
That's anything I read has him going late first, early second. Sort of one of those guys that a team may jump into the back end of the first round to grab, so they get the 5-year control, or maybe a guy going early second round. So, but I do think if you're drafting this guy to be your starter, you're making a mistake.
Making a mistake. Okay. So to recap, Bo Nix, mid-level, low, kind of
low starter
in that bottom 10, and then Michael Penix is a backup. All right.
And to be clear with Bo Nix, I said he needs time to do that.
He needs time to do that. Yes. Okay. So he's not going to come out the gate and do that. Absolutely.
All right. This is a very interesting one. JJ McCarthy.
Knew it. Yes.
So let me tell you my review of this guy. Poise in the pocket, average. Pocket passer ability, average. Release, average. Running ability, average. Ball placement and timing, average. But here's the thing. This guy is so confident, and when he's criticized, he kind of puts a chip on his shoulder. He tends to just take what's given to him. He just doesn't make dumb turnovers. Now at Michigan, he wasn't necessarily asked to take over games. They're more built on the run. But he plays decisive and smart. Now, here's what's interesting about this guy. I've got him as a low-end starter, more of a game manager, or possibly even a backup.
Damn.
But I recall another Michigan quarterback about 25 years ago who everybody said was average.
Please do not compare him to him.
So here's what I'm going to say.
Do not compare him to him.
With time and coaching, I would not be surprised if this is like a Brock Purdy situation where it's a guy who's brought in just to, I'm not going to say Tom Brady, but it's similar scenario. I do think he's just a guy who plays smart football. He doesn't have super tools. He's not known for having a supreme accuracy or supreme arm. He just, like I say, he takes what's given to him, but he's just very smart. He's got heart. He's got confidence. With time and the right situation, that's a big thing. I would not be surprised if suddenly this guy emerges later on. But if you want to grade right now, I would say probably low-end starter, maybe a backup somewhere in there.
And that, it's funny because you said it 4 times with him, and I'll say it a 5th, because every single quarterback, and I'll say it again, every single quarterback, it has to be the right situation, because as easily as a coaching staff, because it's not just one person, a coaching staff can create and build up a quarterback, they can ruin a quarterback. And I'll tell you, just, I'll pick on my Bears for a second. I guarantee you, if they drafted Patrick Mahomes, we would not be talking about Patrick Mahomes the way we talk about Patrick Mahomes, because I've seen Patrick Mahomes with limited weapons, with no offensive line, running for his life and looking terrible. And that's what it would have been on a horrible field in Chicago. And we would have been like, why'd they do that? They should have picked Mitch Trubisky because he would have gone to Kansas City and he wouldn't have had the success of Patrick Mahomes. But Andy Reid would have done more with him than Chicago did. So, I've seen quarterbacks that were super talented, and now I'll give some praise to Chicago, at least for getting this guy from Denver. Jake Cutler, everyone picks on my guy Jay, but Jake could make every single throw, had a cannon for an arm, was super intelligent. He didn't show his emotion, but he was very competitive. But he had like 6 different offensive coordinators, 5 different QB coaches in a 4-year span. One of them, Mike Martz, said, here, just go get killed and hope, let's see if you can live to, play tomorrow. Well, guess what? That's going to mess you up. There's one more. David Carr, Derek's older brother. Do you remember him? I think he was the first quarterback for Houston. He got sacked more times in his first game than some quarterbacks get sacked in a season. He still has PSD. If you walk by him and yell, blitz, 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 he'll follow the ground in fetal position. So 100%. I want to, pound that point home. It's the right situation. Tom Brady was what made Tom Brady great. And this is what I love about people. It's the Michael Jordan effect, right? I took it personal, right? If you get that attitude, I love that. But if he wasn't in New England, who knows if he even, they even sticks on a roster and they give him a chance. So I'm with you there. Okay.
And as a little side note, the easiest way to ruin a quarterback is to have him come in under a coach. Then at the end of that guy's rookie season, they fire the coaching staff, whole new scheme comes in. And if you think about it, the Bears have a coach who barely survived last season. If they come out and have a bad season again, that group is gone, and they're going to ruin whatever quarterback they take. Assuming it's Caleb Williams, they're making things incredibly difficult for your young quarterback.
Well, listen, not to make this a whole Bears thing, but this has been the Bears. This has been the kind of the rinse and repeat with the Bears, because what happens is they draft a quarterback. They have a head coach. They draft a quarterback. The quarterback and coach don't succeed in that first year, which none of them ever do. They fire the coach. They keep the quarterback. They bring in a new coach. That coach says, well, that's not my guy. So he does whatever he does to get rid of that quarterback. At the end of that season, they get rid of that quarterback. They draft a new quarterback. that coach now, who, by the way, they've probably hired the wrong coach every time anyways too. That coach then has 1 year with his rookie QB. He doesn't do great. So they get rid of the coach. They bring in a new head coach who inherits the quarterback, who says, well, that's not my quarterback. He ruins that quarterback. Does this sound familiar? They draft a new quarterback. Well, then that coach gets fired. And it's been this reoccurring, and we're about to see it again. They brought in Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles to replace another Ryan and Mike Nagy and whatever the other Ryan was.
Yeah.
Matt Ryan, yes, Matt Nagy and Ryan. What was that last Ryan? I forget his
Ryan.
Anyways, they replaced Matt and Ryan with Matt and Ryan, right? What happens? Well, Justin Fields not Eberflus and Poles guy, so they get rid of him. They're now going to draft. We'll get to him in a minute. And you're right. They were already on the hot seat, and they spent all this money and brought in all these other pieces in that skills position. If they don't win this year, guess what's going to happen to those coaches? And whatever guy they have is now going to be on their. Anyways, all right. Okay, there's my Bears rant.
All right.
That's suspicious. That's weird.
I'm over it.
All right. Number 3, Drake Maye, North Carolina.
Oh, you have him 3. Okay.
This is just sort of what yeah. So I've got him incredible arm strength, but he's often careless. So he definitely needs time to develop. It's kind of amazing how tight he can throw into windows, but he'll also throw the ball when he shouldn't. He can get inaccurate. He's mobile enough to slide out of the pocket and not afraid to do that. Great at moving on to the next progression. But pressure can rattle him. And like I said, the pressure can cause him to make bad choices. Now, this guy is the ultimate example of the situation he ends up in is going to be the deciding factor. Because with patience, he can be almost MVP Carson Wentz. Without, he can be backup Carson Wentz. So if I had to put some sort of label on here, I would say kind of bottom half of the league, like 15 to 25-ish. I see, it's funny. His name came up earlier. You know who I see a lot of in this guy? I see a lot of Jay Cutler in him, really, to be honest with you.
And for an arm, but struggles with ball placement, decision making, and taking sacks.
So I do think,
in a nutshell,
ultimately it's going to come down to the situation and patience. I think if a team has a group of coaches that can develop a guy and they can give him a couple of years before he's asked to take things over, that's ideal. If he's asked to just jump in there right now and take over as a rookie, I think it could be bad. So for him, it's ultimately going to be the situation and coaching, I think.
And he's going to go high, right? Like he's
yes,
he's going to go. He's going to probably be a top 10 pick, right? These next three are probably all going to be top 10 picks.
Yes,
yeah,
possibly top 3 actually. Yeah,
top. Whoosh. You think 3 quarterbacks are going 1, 2, 3?
A lot of people think so. We'll see.
Okay.
What's your note that you have for Mr. Maye?
That was it. The ball placement, decision making, and taking sacks.
Yep. Yeah. So we'll see. Number 2, Jaden Daniels, LSU. Of course, runs a lot, but he can stay in the pocket and work through progressions. I've got him really accurate at the first 2 levels, but can struggle with the deep ball, both in accuracy and zip or power behind it. I do think he's smart. He can recognize defense and set up counters to the defense. I do think there's a durability concern because of how much scrambling he does. But overall, I think he's a mid-level QB, somewhere in the 10 to 20 range. If you want a comparable, it's like a less talented Patrick Mahomes, maybe.
That's still that. Well, no, that's still pretty high praise.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say like Josh Allen without the arm.
There you go. But I think he can play. Now, what I've got to worry about here is between May, Daniels, and Williams. I don't know if the hype between them has made me rein in my views of these guys, because really I was super high on Drake Maye and I've kind of pulled back a little bit. Daniels I was low on and I've kind of come up. And Williams I'll get to in a second. What was your feedback on Jaden Daniels?
Don't fall in love with his feet.
Yeah.
I feel like we've gone through this kind of transition where mobile quarterbacks, and I think we've misunderstood what a mobile quarterback is, and we've confused it with like a running quarterback. And that concerns me, is because when you fall in love with the feet, you forget that it's still a quarterback and they still have to make throws. They still have to make the short, accurate, timing, anticipation throws, the mid kind of throws. And then they have to be able, at least the threat of a deep ball, right? They have to have because that's what opens up. If you can't throw the deep ball there, you know what happens. The safeties start to creep in, and then life becomes significantly harder. You're not going to have, only one quarterback I know of has Tyreek Hill and Waddle that you can throw a 2-yard out and they're going to take it 40 yards for a touchdown. Most teams don't have that. You need to be able to throw it over the coverage every once in a while. And I don't think a lot of the guys that we fall in love with their feet have the ability to throw those short and intermediate passes. And then if they don't have the long ball, forget it. And so to add to that, like when we say mobile, Patrick Mahomes is mobile. He is not a running quarterback. Steve Young was mobile. He wasn't a running quarterback. Lamar Jackson, now fine, has a couple MVPs, but he's not going to win you a Super Bowl, with all due respect. RG3, those are running. Cam Newton running. They might have short stints, but they are more injury prone. Even Lamar Jackson, right? Like, as great as I think he is, and he can throw the ball too, but I think that developed a little bit. Obviously, the offensive coordinator, there's other issues around Lamar Jackson, so I kind of give him a pass a little bit. But I mean, the ones who even Jalen Hurts. Let's use Jalen Hurts as an example. He was run first. The second he said, "Hold on a second, let me throw the ball," his biggest thing in that year that they had that run to the Super Bowl. You know what I noticed more about him than anything else? I saw him read 1, 2, 3. There's nothing there. Boom, threw it away. He didn't always run. He had the patience and then now the knowledge to throw it away every once in a while, and that made him significantly better. Now, last year there was a bunch of issues with the Eagles that stopped him, but that's where I think we're falling in love with this running and confusing it with mobility. If I got a guy with a good arm who also can be mobile, and listen, Tom Brady can't run. I think he's faster now than he was when he ran the faster 40, right? But what he could do, though, he could shift and move in the pocket enough to get people to miss. And that, so even though he couldn't run, even that is the shiftiness, I think, is better than, first read's not there. Okay, I'm running. You're going to Justin Fields, right? When he ran the ball, man, wow. But what happened? Well, he gets hurt. What happened? Well, people realized, stop him from running and we're going to be okay. Well, that's what happened. So that's where that was a long answer for that one little piece of don't fall in love with his legs, but that's where it came from. Yeah.
And with me mentioning, I see I've got him accurate at the very first two levels. The deep ball is what he struggles with. I think if you get him into a West Coast offense where he's just got to make sort of the short, quick passes, I think he could be successful for sure. Yeah. All right, now the drum roll.
Worried about this one.
Caleb Williams, USC. By the way, little side note, the first time we talked, I think we had finished talking, and then that's when I mentioned that I got into the quarterbacks, and you go, hey, so what do you think of Justin Fields? Because the Bears had just got him. and I said, do you remember that? And
I do. And I remember it only because I said, I hope you're wrong. Like in my head, I was just, I hope he's wrong. I hope he's wrong. And then it was the whole thing where I was hearing everybody say, those Ohio State quarterbacks. And look, and I don't even think he was that bad. I think injuries suck. I think having, again, transition in coaching, OCs, his skill positions, like they didn't do him any favors. Like even last season when he did well, it wasn't until week 6 or 7 that they went, oh, he can run. They're like, what? Like, okay, use his run to set up some passing and whatever. They mishandled him so much. So that's why I say, like, I don't think he's a superstar quarterback either. But I think they made it worse, which is what Chicago does.
And this his situation is really bad luck more than anything because, with the Bears making the trade to Carolina was not expecting to be as terrible as they were this year.
No.
If the Bears did not have Carolina's number 1 pick, say Carolina had, it was the 11th pick or something, Justin Fields is the quarterback. They probably extend him, to be honest with you.
Extend him, and they're building around him. Yeah, absolutely.
But now the replacement. Caleb Williams can scramble, but he can also play from the pocket. I do think he might scramble a bit too much sometimes. I think he wants to get out and scramble more than just working through the progressions necessarily. I've got him throwing hard on mid and deep throws, but he can be inaccurate. On the other side, he does take care of the football, and when he is scrambling, he's still looking downfield. So that's good. But as a Bears fan, I'm sure you've seen. But you see, when Aaron Rodgers used to scramble and he'd get out of the pocket, then he would stop and then fire. Caleb Williams doesn't do that. He likes to fire while he's throwing, and that's, I think, probably where the inaccuracy. Yes, sorry, yeah. So I think that's where the inaccuracy may come from. He doesn't often get through the progressions quickly enough, and he has sort of a bit of a gunslinger mentality. He does kind of prefer to take the gamble bomb versus like an easy short run or a check down. And I do think he might have a little bit of a selfish mentality.
Well, that's what they said about Aaron Rodgers, and San Francisco drafted Alex Smith instead, and then we had to suffer through 20 years or however many years of Aaron Rodgers. So, not always a bad thing.
Yeah.
There might not be an I in team, but there is definitely one in win, as Michael Jordan once said.
Sure.
Or I'll use Kobe's line. There's no I in team, but there's a me in that motherfucker. I love Kobe.
Kobe's the man. Yeah. So if you want to grade, I
want to grade.
You know who I see a lot of? I think he's Justin Fields. He feels like Justin Fields. I think he's maybe mid-level starter. I've got a comp as Justin Fields or Kyler Murray. So
I really hope we didn't get rid of Justin Fields for a bad temperament Justin Fields, because the one thing I liked about Justin Fields was his temperament, and
the guys loved him. The guys loved him.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a GM and you're getting Justin Fields in the draft, then that means it was the right choice to trade him away, because now you've got rookie salary for the next several years, so you can build around. Before I continue, what was your note on him? And I'll have something else here.
My note is with him. The biggest thing I see is the consistency, but that's typical of young people, let alone young quarterbacks. But that consistency, like he can make the same throw 10 times and it'll look different, like 8 of those times. So that the consistency, whether it's his footwork, just everything about what he does, his reads, it's inconsistent again, but that comes with age and maturity. The other thing was his temperament, right? I'm not picking on him for crying after that loss. but I'm picking on him for crying after that loss, right? I'm not picking on him for being kind of arrogant, egotistical, and selfish, but I'm kind of picking on him because to a certain level, all of those things are good. Like to be a superstar, you have to be a little bit selfish. You have to be a little bit arrogant. You have to think I'm the best and there's no one better. Like you're not going to be that unless part of you thinks that. I'm worried because there's a very, it's like this line right here. There's a very, very thin line. And I feel like he could cross it if he doesn't have the right foundation around him. And that is head coach, OC, QB coach, veteran player. So I really like the Keenan Allen pickup, right? Because those are the types of guys that would be like, hey, you're our leader. This is what that means, right? Because it's one thing to say you're a leader, but and some people say it's unfair, but if you're the starting quarterback of a football team, you're the leader, period. That's part of the badge that you get. And so has to have people be like, you can't do that because you're the leader. I coach youth basketball and I tell my best player, hey, you can't kick the chair when you foul out, right? You fouled out, clap your hands, cheer on your team, point out other things, and be a leader. If they see you kicking the chair and starting crying, and it's the same thing whether they're 11 or 14 or 25 or 35. The other guys around you see you as a leader, and what you do, they're gonna do. They're gonna think it's okay. So if you're selfish and you only care about yourself, well, that's the same mentality. Guess what the running back's gonna do? He's gonna be like, well, I got to get my 1,500 yards, right? And that's that. It might be good for you individually. It doesn't necessarily equate to wins, though. So that's my fear.
Yeah.
My take on Caleb.
So,
also he played in sunny California, and Chicago's not that.
That's a concern. Yeah. Though they may get a new dome stadium in 7 years.
Did you see that? That looks beautiful. I can't wait to pay too much to get a ticket to go there.
They got to get the state to foot the bill for that, and I don't know if it's going to happen. But
would you have preferred it out in the burbs? Like I said, would you have preferred it out in the burbs? Their original kind of plan was to take it out.
Well, they bought the property and tore it all down so they could build. So, what a waste of money if that's not what's happening.
Maybe that would be they probably need a practice facility.
Oh, well, they practice at Olivet Nazarene University. I don't know. Maybe they'll switch it up. Who knows? But so I'll tell you.
So tell me you're right because you still haven't told me where. Because then I'm going to tell you my crazy idea. So you got to.
So I gave you sort of the listings there of the quarterbacks. So as is history here, you tend to ask me, if you're a GM, what are you going to do? And my answer is it depends. If I'm in a situation where I don't need a win now quarterback, I need a quarterback for the future, I'm taking Drake Maye.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
If I have a team built right now and I need a quarterback to come in and push us into the playoffs, oh, dear Lord. Here's what I would do. I think Caleb Williams or Jaden Daniels would suffice. So if I'm the Bears, I absolutely would have accepted Washington's offer of moving down one to get 2 more first-round picks. Let them take Caleb Williams, and I would have taken Jaden Daniels with the second pick, and then built my team with the next picks the next couple of years. That's what I would have done.
What do you rank Caleb Williams? Is he top 5? Is he top 10? Is he mid-level starter? Is he? You have not told us. Is he going to be a bust?
I told you.
You didn't. You said Justin Fields as a comparison, but you didn't tell me, or I need to hear it again.
I've got him right in the middle. He's a mid-level starter. Justin Fields, Kyler Murray type.
But everybody's very high on him. Everybody thinks he's a number 1 selection. Everybody thinks he has the potential to be a franchise. I'm quoting here, a franchise-changing talent. That is a direct quote from some scouts. So here's what I would do, and I'll warn you. Everyone who I tell says this.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
I understand it is. But there is a new head coach in another city who has a quarterback, a really good quarterback, but it's not his guy. And he is coming straight out of college, and he knows college players, and he feels comfortable with college players, and he understands the rookie quarterback salary can get you a bunch of other pieces, and that has been, if you go back and look, how most Super Bowl championship teams have won. It's been either a quarterback on the cheap or a quarterback on that rookie pay scale. Just so you know, Patrick Mahomes is the only top 5, and he was number 5. He's the only top 5 paid quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. Ever. This kid's Caleb Williams was playing in California. Why not just keep him in California and trade Caleb Williams, or the number 1 pick, which will end up being Caleb Williams, to the Chargers for Justin Herbert?
I would do that today.
But with the Chargers, and everyone's like, that's where everyone calls me crazy. And I go, hold on. Harbaugh's coming right out of college. He saw who the best quarterback was in college. He's there to build something. Justin Herbert's not his guy. Justin Herbert's another guy. Like I said, if he looks at him as Justin Rivers, who, hey, he's going to just find a way to lose. I want to change the culture, come in fresh. I'm the new guy coming from college. Here's my college kind of QB that I'm going to pair up and build this franchise with. And he's already in California. He's there in LA. He's ready to roll. I think you could sell him on that, and the idea again of the money, because Herbert's going to get paid once he's due, which is soon, more money than any other quarterback has ever gotten paid. So if I'm him, I would seriously look at that. And if I'm the Bears, and there might be other pieces and stuff that have to happen, and if I'm the Bears, I'm like, well, I've just built this team. I just got his best wide receiver. Plus I have DJ Moore. Plus I have Herbert. Plus I have Cole Kmet. Plus I've put in an offensive line. Plus I've, spent some money on the defense. They're ready. They're ready to win. They need to win now. Well, doesn't this just fast forward the process by putting in a proven commodity who has the arm strength to throw in the Chicago wind, has the hair to keep his ears warm? Like, he's ready to go. He's ready to go. So is it crazy? Maybe. Does it make sense? Also maybe.
Yeah, I would do that today. And so for the people who would say, wait a minute, Caleb Williams could be a franchise-changing quarterback. Well, he could. He could also be a total bust. Prospects are prospects. You know what you're getting with Justin Herbert, and if you can get him for that pick, I would do it in a second. I would do that today.
Here's what I know about the Bears drafting quarterbacks. They're always wrong. Don't draft one. Just be like, he's good. Let's pull him. Now, you might have, again, another situation where they traded for a quarterback, right? When they traded for Jay Cutler, who was doing great in Denver. And I still think he did. Like, again, I'm a fan of his, so maybe I overrate him a little bit. But I think they didn't do him any favors either. But I just, you're not going to, you've always drafted, and I know the personal stuff changed how we look at Deshaun Watson, but if you think back to that draft, I'm sure you had Deshaun Watson ranked as the number 1 QB prospect, right?
I had him as a top 5 QB in the league. Yep.
They would not have had to trade with San Francisco, that horrible trade, right? They could have just sat where they were and drafted Deshaun Watson. And coming out into the draft, what were they calling him? They were calling him the Michael Jordan of football. How does a team in Chicago not draft the Michael Jordan of football? Right? Like, it almost seemed like when they did anything other than Deshaun Watson, I just like now, I couldn't understand what just happened. I thought I was ready to order my Bears Watson jersey. I just assumed that was the pick. And when it didn't happen, it made absolutely no. Even when they traded, I said, okay, they wanted to make sure they got Watson. Okay, that makes sense. Nothing. And I know he fell in love with Trubisky, met him, and was like, ooh. Never do that. That's the worst thing ever. But
I remember draft night. That moment happened. My son was 3 years old, and they trade up, and I'm like, maybe they're not drafting a quarterback. Maybe they moved up to get the safety that the Jets took. I can't think of his name at the moment, but I was like, oh, maybe they're trading up to get a defensive guy. And when they say the Bears take Mitch Trubisky, I started screaming. I sounded like Ron Santo when Brant Brown dropped the fly ball. I was no. And my kids screamed and screamed and screamed. My wife's like, Jerry, no, stop it. You're scaring our kid. And I'm like, well, the Bears just cost themselves 5 years of progress with this stupid pick of this guy because he drives a beat up clunker car and the GM thinks it's awesome.
Yeah, it blew my mind, and I immediately thought, you know what?
We do not care.
They just don't care.
Was it Ryan Poles? Was that his name?
No, Ryan Poles is the current GM.
And Ryan Pace. Is it Ryan Pace?
Pace, yes, maybe.
Okay.
I try to forget. I know that sounds bad, but I do. I try to forget. When you think of all the GMs, the coaches, the quarterbacks, I try to forget. Like we had Nathan Peterman on our roster last year. Do you know Nathan Peterman? Didn't he throw like 5 interceptions in the first quarter that he played? Like 7 in that game, I think he had. Like that, he's still in the league. He's still in the league.
He's here.
Colin Kaepernick can't get a snap. Sorry for another day. So let's shout out the book again, and where people can find you. Have you been banned from TikTok yet? Because I know that I can ban you every few months.
My first 2 accounts were banned. I'm on my 3rd one now.
Nice.
But I believe it's comedian Jeremy Nunes on TikTok. I don't do much anymore on there because I'll do comedy clips and food reviews when I'm on the road. That's kind of the gist of my stuff. Whatever town I'm in. Yeah, whatever town I'm in, I get something to eat. And then I'll put it on TikTok and tell you where I was and what I thought of it, which has resulted in cool free stuff and also hate mail from owners. So,
okay, what was the best one? What's the best that you reviewed? Like where and what was it? You said food. I don't know if you know. Like I am the ultimate foodie. Like when I used to travel. I used to have a different job years and years ago where I was on the road 25 days a month. And so what I would do is I'd be going to these cities that I knew nothing about. And so I would find, and I would switch it up, right? But any of those shows on like the Food Network where people travel around and eat, like I was on a kick for like a year where anything that the diners, drive-ins, and dives, I'd go and find, okay, they were in this town. Where did he go? You know, Guy Fieri, right? Oh, so that's where I would go and eat. And honestly, I was never disappointed. So anytime you bring up food, we got to stop and talk about it. So kind of best meal, location, restaurant.
So I rate the meals 1 to 10.
Okay.
I have given a 10 one time ever, and that was to a place called the Beef House. It's in Indiana, right on the Illinois border. If you're watching, you know where Danville is. It's right. So as far as north-south in the state of Illinois.
The Beef House?
The Beef House.
Okay.
So if you know north-south, smack dab in the middle, right on the Illinois-Indiana border. So it's some tiny little town. I couldn't tell you the name of it. But it's called the Beef House. They largely is a steakhouse. But I got, because I'm broke, the cheapest steak on the menu, which was the best steak I've ever had. Plus they do homemade rolls with homemade jelly. Even the baked potato was incredible somehow. Like I thought, you've had one, you've had them all. It was super. I couldn't believe it. I gave it 10 out of 10. About fell out of my chair when I rated that thing.
The Beef House. All right, I'll give you my best one. Just outside of Portland, and it's the only one, so you'll look it up if you're in the Portland area. It's called Buster's Briskets, and it was the best brisket ever. Like orgasmic brisket. Like it It was so like I would drive. It was not close to the places I had to visit, but I would drive out of them. I'd be like, I'm taking a lunch, because I'd go in and do like a day long session somewhere, right? And I'd be like, I'm taking a lunch. I'll be gone for 2 hours, and they're like, 2 hours. I go, where I'm going is about half an hour away, and they're like, huh? I'm going to Buster's, and they would all go, oh, okay. Like they knew. They're like, oh, we're coming too, right? It was so good. All right, you know what I'm going to ask now, right?
Okay.
The worst.
The worst.
The worst. And I don't care. You're going to get hate mail. Send it to me. AnthonyK@sportsfluent.com. I don't care.
Okay. I remember the place. I don't recall the name of it, but I was in Salina, Kansas, which is roughly an hour out of Kansas City, which is a whole area known for barbecue. So I find a barbecue place. And I go in and I say, hey, what are they like here? So I got a little bit of everything. I got a smoked sausage. I got a pulled pork sandwich. And they had homemade baked beans. I couldn't even finish the homemade baked beans. It was it was terrible. The smoked sausage was smoked sausage. It wouldn't surprise me if they had just bought it at a store and served it. I mean, there was nothing to it at all. And then the pulled pork was meh. But so yeah, if I'm going to shell out like $20 for lunch and I can't even finish it, it's that bad. It was not good.
That's not good. That sucks. I don't know that I have any bad ones, so I'll give you another good one. Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona. Little, not little, Lil, like Lil, Lil Abner's. Little Abner's. Don't expect a menu. There might be a piece of paper with a couple they'll tell you what you're eating basically, because they only ever have, it's either ribs, some type of steak, and a chicken, but they won't always have all three. Sometimes they'll have all three. One day you might be there and they're like, sorry, we only have ribs, or we only have steak and chicken. We only have ribs. Like, yeah, everything comes with baked beans and a salad in, like, you know, those little wooden bowls that probably like your grandma used to have. And they're outside cooking it on this Mesquite grill. And just around the corner, they still have, like, because people will come, because it's close to the mountains, people will come like on horseback and like tie their horses up and come in. And there's and you just go in and basically they'll tell you what you're eating. And don't worry about it. Just eat whatever they give you, because everything is perfect. It's delicious. Lil Abner's.
That's funny. Yeah, Lil Abner's. I will check that one out for sure.
There you go. So yes, we were saying, so yes, on TikTok it is comedian Jeremy Nunes. Are you sure? Because I know it's your third.
Yeah, I think it's comedian Jeremy Nunes. I want to say. So yeah, you find me there. If you do want to watch some comedy, I'm on Dry Bar Comedy. You can just search my name, or on Amazon Prime, search my name. Please leave a great review, 5 stars. I'm almost to 50 reviews, which gives me they start heavily promoting it. So if you could throw 5 stars on there, or the book, as you mentioned earlier, You Can't Write City Hall, about my time as a small town mayor, which might be turning into a movie here before long. We'll see.
Can I be in it?
You know what? You asked me about that before. Yeah, we got to work something out on that. I definitely think we could work something out if I have any pull in that.
When we talked last, we're going way over our hour. I don't care. Was I doing that pilot?
You knew it was happening, but it had not yet happened.
So we did the pilot.
Yeah.
Did the premiere, had the party, everybody came and watched it. My cousin, I'm not going to name drop or anything, but I will say my cousin won an Emmy he was one of the producers on Schitt's Creek. Okay, so I said, come and just watch this, because you did Schitt's Creek, like, right? And his comment to me was, you were really good. And I was like, wow, thanks. And I said, and he goes, no one's picking up that pilot. It was horrible. and he was absolutely correct. No one picked it up. It was horribly written. It was really bad. But he said, he did say, he goes, the only laughs that it got, he said, the only time I laughed, he goes, I had 3 scenes. He goes, were your 3 scenes? And I was like, really? I go, will you give me a job? He's like, absolutely not. But you were good. family. We just can't hire family. But he goes, you were good. He goes, if you ever get an opportunity, he goes, you should do it again. I'm like, all right. So I'm going to keep throwing it out there. But yeah, it did not get picked up.
That's funny. And it's funny you say he worked on Schitt's Creek, because my book draws a lot of comparisons to that too, because of sort of the small town, governance and that sort of stuff. So
I could see, it's funny you say a movie, but like I could totally see it being like a series, because people love small towns, right? I think there's like make America great again. I think there's a yearning for like a simpler time. And not that, there's a lot, I don't want to get into this because it's very political, but there's a lot of bad shit that happened in the past. And I get why, when you say again, they're like, when was it great? Okay. But there is some things like, safe neighborhoods, family values, the community. And I think like people like seeing especially a comedian coming back from, we'll call it the big city. I don't know if that's really, but coming back from the big city and like being like, oh yeah, you suck. I could do a better job at being mayor than you. Well, why don't you do it? Sure. Why not? And then he wins. And then like to see that, oops, there's a lot more that goes into being mayor than cutting ribbons at the grand opening of the new bank.
Yeah. And well, so it was initially more discussion on becoming a TV show.
Yeah.
But to do that, they want you to really be hands-on with it. And that would require a move to Los Angeles. And
terrible.
That's just not my thing. Yeah. It may be a thing for a Caleb Williams trade, but
he's just staying there. He wouldn't have to move there.
Yeah, but for me, I got little kids. I don't want to try to move them out there when they've grown up in a small town. But so a movie, I just got to be hands on for a movie and not for the life of a sitcom if it goes anywhere. So we've steered it to a movie. We'll see what happens.
If they do make a series, would I have to shave my head to play you? Is that what would happen? I'm okay with that.
I had hair when I was mayor, and then becoming mayor made me lose my hair. So.
Well, last time you saw me, I had no grays, and as my kids get older, they are coming in more and more.
Oh, that'll do it. It's these kids, I tell you.
See anything? It's all. Actually, I think I had long hair too back then. Now that I think about it.
I don't remember, but you've aged like a fine wine, my friend.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. A pleasure as always. We don't do this nearly enough, so I'm gonna bug you and bug me because I'm horrible. We have to do this more often. I don't know. What's the next thing? What's the next topic we need to do? We're gonna book it right now. I don't know when, but what's the next? Because I know that we do this, but we can't just do draft quarterbacks every year. What else are you like Nostradamus on?
Do you ever talk poker?
Poker?
Yeah.
No, but we should.
I played in a lot of professional poker tournaments, believe it or not. So
that will be our next. Can we play poker like as we talk? Like, can we?
If you can figure out how to show what's happening, I suppose you could. Yeah.
I feel like there's a way we could do this. I'll figure it out and get back to you. Okay, that's it. So let's just recap quickly the 6 QBs. I don't have them in front of me, but I think Bo Nix was your first.
Sure.
We'll end with that. So yeah, just run them down, the 6, and just say the name and where you think they're going to be.
Bo Nix I had as a low end starter. Michael Penix backup. JJ McCarthy low end starter or backup, but with time and coaching could develop into a good starter. Drake Maye, if I had to score him, 15th to 25th best quarterback, but it's absolutely going to matter on time and situation. I said he could develop into an MVP Carson Wentz or backup Carson Wentz. It's all just going to shake out to where he's at and what they ask him to do. Jaden Daniels, 10 to 20th best quarterback, a mid-level kind of guy. Caleb Williams, 10 to 20, mid-level kind of guy.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Jeremy. Guys, go check him out. Comedian Jeremy Nunes. You Can't Write, City Hall, movies / who knows what to follow, and soon to be Losing to Me in Poker. Until next time, now you're more fluent.